Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Wednesday night, August 2, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really look for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the United States Climate Prediction Center's 2 to 3 week global tropics hazards outlook, and we see that they're showing something similar to what we posted in our recent video about the outlook for the month of August. And we see that we have some slightly above average rainfall right there across portions of the northern Greater Antilles and the northeastern Caribbean, just as the other forecast models were showing. While for the following week, that's the period from August 16th to August 22nd, we see some reds here, not to mention some greens that represent above normal rainfall coming off of the coast of Africa. And if you actually take a look at the key, that's indicative of some amount of tropical cyclone formation probability. So maybe a tropical depression or a tropical storm, whatever the case may be. Either way, we're starting to get into the peak of the hurricane season, so it makes sense that we're going to be having more tropical activity taking place, stretching and moving away from Africa and moving into the Caribbean region. Alright, so let's just take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have numerous tropical waves across the main development region. And we can see that we have a trough right there to the east of the Caribbean and a tropical wave right now that's to the west of Jamaica. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see those numerous tropical waves right there across the main development region. We can see that trough right there to the east of the Caribbean. And we can see that tropical wave that has made its way west of Jamaica, even although we didn't receive much rainfall from it. And remember, it was east of us a couple hours ago. Now it's to the west of us. All of that moisture, it's as if it skipped right over Jamaica, especially the southern coast of the island. And now it's affecting portions of Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Honduras with some amount of overcast sky showers and thunderstorms. We'll be talking more about the weather across the Caribbean later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Wednesday. It was stated that we would have received some amount of afternoon rainfall on Wednesday across sections of northern and western parishes in Jamaica. And what ended up happening? A post was made at 4:35 p.m. highlighting the infrared satellite images showing clouds bringing some amount of thunderstorms to sections of especially northern Jamaica and western Jamaica as well. So we definitely had that rainfall across sections of St. Mary, St. Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, portions of Westmoreland, and even sections of northern St. Elizabeth as well. So that indeed confirms the rainfall that we had across the island, just as the models predicted. And we even see that on the visible satellite images where we had those buildup of clouds, especially across northern Jamaica. Then they became cumulonimbus clouds, and those high level clouds being streaked off towards the south and east. And we can see that as well on the infrared satellite images. We know those high cold cloud tops are indicated by those red and those oranges, not to mention the sparkling white dots that represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we can see the confirmation of the rainfall on the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology's aggregated precipitation for the past 24 hours. And we do see that even although this map isn't 100% accurate, we do see that yes, we indeed had some amount of rainfall across sections of western Jamaica and northern Jamaica as well. If we take a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can say we have 80 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 26 degrees Celsius for both Montego Bay and Kingston. And as it relates for the temperatures for tomorrow, it's definitely going to be quite a hot day. You can see Jamaica embedded in some amount of oranges that represent at least up to 3 degrees Celsius above average temperatures. I know that average temperatures for the month of August is about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 32.7 degrees Celsius. So if we're going to be receiving up to 3 degrees Celsius above average for tomorrow, we should be getting anywhere from 32 to 35 degrees Celsius at most, especially on the south coast. If we take a look at the dry air map, we know the dry air is represented by the yellows and the oranges and the reds, not to mention the whites within those reds that represents the most intense dry air, and we see the most intense dry air off the coast of Africa. We see some amount of dry air right there across portion of the waters of the central Caribbean, not so much across Jamaica at this time, but it's definitely going to be, getting dry as this dry air pushes westward. And if we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that 2 p.m. on Monday has a lot of dust right there across portion of the main development region, and we don't have much in the way of Saharan dust across portions of the Caribbean at this time. Lots of pockets of moist air. If we take a look at the waves, we can see that for tomorrow we have 1.5-meter wave heights or less from both the Euro and the GFS's forecast. And that's due to the fact that we're going to be receiving an easterly flow of winds, averaging up to 15 knots at most, with the waters to the south of the island getting those darker or those brighter shades of greens that represent up to 20-knot winds. And we can see that we have those darker shades of blues right there that represent the least amount of winds. And we know what usually happens when we have that, and we see that across mainly sections of some central and western parishes, maybe even sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, sections of Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. We know that that means we're going to be having the least amount of winds there, which means all of those cumulus clouds are going to be piling up, probably becoming some amount of thunderclouds, cumulonimbus clouds, and then those afternoon showers will commence, some afternoon convections, those afternoon thunderstorms, and with the upper level wind shear coming in from the northwest, we might see that we have more of those upper level winds pushing off the high cold cloud tops off towards the southeast. So we saw what happened today, where we had those thunderstorms being pushed off towards the east, but for tomorrow, it seems as if these thunderstorms are going to be pushed off towards the southeast, bringing more overcast skies and possible rainfall to sections of some southern parishes in Jamaica. So definitely, maybe sections of Kingston and St. Andrew, maybe sections of St. Catherine, and especially inland areas of some central and western parishes will definitely getting in on some of that rain. And we do see the confirmation right here on the precipitation forecast. Both maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So maybe before and around that time, that's about 3 p.m. Jamaica time actually. Eastern Standard Time is about the equivalent of 3 p.m. Jamaica time, 4 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Jamaica time. So we're definitely going to be receiving some amount of afternoon convection for sections of northern Clarendon, sections of northern Manchester, northeastern St. Elizabeth, sections of Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, sections of St. Anne. Definitely sections of Kingston and St. Andrew will be getting in on some amount of afternoon convection for tomorrow. And we see the same on the Euromall. We know that when there's consensus like this, when both maps are showing the same thing, the chance of it actually happening are much higher. So look out for that rainfall around 3 p.m. Central Time, Jamaica time. Definitely going to be getting in on some of that. So it's definitely going to be starting before that time and maybe getting more intense by 3 p.m. And if we take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 24 hours, we're definitely going to be receiving some amount of rainfall across the island. You see the GFS a bit more robust as usual, with up to 0.82 of an inch of rainfall, while the Euro is showing 0.45 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see exactly what unfolds either way. It's good to see that both maps are showing some amount of rainfall for the island for tomorrow, and we're indeed grateful for that considering that we're in the month of August. We actually see more of an increase in the rainfall during this month, and it is much welcome, especially across the south coast. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see some amount of clouds bring overcast skies and rainfall to sections of Hispaniola, that's Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, where they got in on some of that afternoon convection today, sections of Florida, the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, sections of Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, and sections of eastern Honduras and Nicaragua, not to mention Costa Rica, which is being affected by the tropical wave at this time. We even had some amount of rainfall across sections of the northeastern Caribbean for today. So definitely Puerto Rico, sections of the US and British Virgin Islands, sections of maybe Guadeloupe, sections of Martinique, definitely Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla getting in on some amount of passing rainfall today. And even right now, we do see some amount of greens here and there, some spotty showers, maybe some hit or miss showers taking place across the northeastern Caribbean. So look out for some more of that as it relates to the Barbados radar. We can definitely see that we don't have much going on across Barbados at this time, but we do see some rainfall across sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially Grenada getting in on some rainfall coming in from the northeast tonight. Section of Tobago getting in on some rainfall at this time, not so much across Trinidad though, but some of that rainfall might spill into Trinidad later on tonight into tomorrow morning. If we take a look at the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall across sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, sections of northwestern Guatemala, sections of Nicaragua associated with that tropical wave. Not so much in the way of rainfall across sections of the ABC Islands right now, but we do see some amount of rainfall across sections of southern Cuba, sections of Florida, and as we mentioned, sections of the Windward Islands that we just mentioned. Not to mention portions of Colombia getting in on some of that rainfall as well. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that yes, we're going to be having average to some slightly above normal temperatures across sections of the Caribbean for tomorrow, below normal temperatures for portions of the east coast of the United States, above normal temperatures for sections of the southern and central United States, while we have some slightly above normal temperatures anywhere from Central America into sections of South America. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS modes. I know that when we have consensus like this, chances of it actually happening are much higher. As relates to the Sahara and dust forecast, we do see some slight yellow or brown shades that indicate some amount of Sahara and dust anywhere from the eastern Caribbean to the southern Caribbean, even to the south of Jamaica. Majority of the area is receiving a lot of moist air at this time, and we hope that it stays that way, keeping all of the darkest browns indicating a lot of Saharan dust right there across portions of the northern main development region as well as sections of Africa. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're going to be having anywhere from 0 to at least 1.5-meter wave heights, anywhere from the eastern Caribbean to the Gulf of Mexico, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models. As it relates to the wind forecast, we can see why the waves are so low. We're going to be having anywhere from 10 to 20 knot winds from majority of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico, with the strongest winds right there in yellows right there to the north of Colombia as usual. And that's where we're going to be having those 25 knot winds. So it makes sense that we have somewhat of a slight purple shade right there off the coast of Colombia. As relates to the rain forecast, we can say that we definitely have some more rainfall to receive across sections of Florida, the Bahamas, sections of the Turks and Caicos, southeastern Cuba, sections of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, sections of the northeastern Caribbean, the Leeward Islands. Those areas that we just mentioned, Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, section of Guadeloupe, Southward, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, sections of Grenada, not to mention sections of Barbados getting in on some of that rainfall. And we can also see some rainfall in store for sections of French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, sections of mainly southern Venezuela, Colombia, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Belize. So we're definitely going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall, even sections of Guatemala and El Salvador and the Yucatan Peninsula. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS malls right there. And with that one we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.